This is CBS 8 News Live at 6.
Breaking tonight, San Diego Schools has named a new interim superintendent. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Carlo Cicchetto.
I'm Marcella Lee. The move comes after the district put Dr. Cheryl James Ward on administrative leave for her controversial comments about Asian students. CBS 8's Kirsten Holmes has been following the story all day for you. Kirsten?
In a unanimous vote, the San Diego School Board voted to name Tina Douglas as the interim superintendent after more public comments from the community. The meeting started here today at 1 o'clock, and we heard from both sides, some saying that they want to support Dr. James Ward, while others say that her comments were too hurtful to the community, and it's time for her to go.
Do we know why Asians do so well in school? Do we know why?
I can tell you part of that reason. So here in San Diego, we have an influx of Asians from China. And the people who are able to make that journey are wealthy.
That was the question, and Dr. Cheryl James Ward's answer that sparked a controversy that led to calls for her termination and Dr. James Ward being put on administrative leave. Tensions ran high in the small packed school board meeting room Friday afternoon. Supporters of Dr. James Ward say that there needs to be forgiveness.
We require in our schools restorative justice. We don't just suspend and cancel you. We want you to learn from your mistakes.
Hong Wu says the board's resulting action when it comes to Dr. James Ward speaks louder than words.
When people make a mistake, it's okay. There is a chance. However, after you did something wrong, the response is more important.
Tom Scott says that Dr. Cheryl James Ward was a step in the right direction for the district.
And now we finally got a black superintendent. We finally had some forward motion and some DEI trainings, commitment to ethnic studies. And what's happening now? They want to fire her.
Jason Zoe says he once supported Dr. James Ward after seeing her resume, education, and qualifications. But now,
I was totally shocked. Somebody with her experience, education background can see some low-level thing, this kind of student like that.
Okay, so we still have some questions like, what is Dr. Cheryl James Ward's current employment status with the school district? We do not have answers to those questions. We'll work on getting those answers for you. I spoke with board members here who can only confirm that Tina Douglas is the interim superintendent, and they will keep us posted with any other developments as they become available. Back to you.
Thanks, Kirsten. We're also following breaking news out of Mira Mesa right now. Homicide detectives are investigating a deadly stabbing at a home on Pagoda Way. When officers arrived at the home, they found two people stabbed. One of them was dead. The other was taken to the hospital. No word on that person's condition tonight. Police say they've made no arrests in this murder yet. We will bring you any new information when we get it. A man accused of breaking into a home in Tirasana and taking a woman hostage was in court just hours ago. 40-year-old Demetrius Trussell pleaded not guilty to charges including kidnapping and sexual battery. Investigators say he broke into a home on Viacha Drive 2 weeks ago, held a woman and her elderly father hostage, then forced the woman into a bedroom and sexually assaulted her.
Sandag says it's making changes tonight after losing almost $2 million in toll booth revenue. The agency's auditor revealed toll equipment on the 125 had been disconnected for 3 months last summer. But no one noticed until February because Sandag wasn't making regular revenue reports. After our report earlier this week, Sandag says it will make daily toll reports now, work to find ways to improve and make personnel changes. Broken equipment on the 125 will also be fixed by the end of May. Tonight, the Republican Party of California is trying to decide who it will endorse in the race against Governor Gavin Newsom. But as our political reporter Morgan Reiner explains, no well-known Republicans appear to be running.
The experts that I spoke to said the recall, which happened less than a year ago, made it very clear that Newsom is safe. They said even if the top voting issues are not necessarily in his favor, they said it won't make a difference.
This weekend, the California Republican Party will pick who they want to endorse in each race, or choose not to endorse anyone in particular as they did in the recall election.
If you're running for governor, if you're running for dog catcher, it's going to be very difficult to run with that D behind your name.
The list of 25 people who are running against Newsom is expansive, but political experts and analysts argue no one in particular jumps out like they did in the recall, where you had someone like former San Diego Mayor Kevin Faulconer running. He decided to sit this race out.
You basically lost the entire re-election effort, which was only going to happen a year later, because you're not going to be able to raise money or justify when in a higher turnout election a Republican could do better.
The Republican office holder running is Brian Dahle, who represents the most northern part of the state in the California Senate.
Doesn't have a lot of money, doesn't have a lot of name ID, and so Governor Newsom should cruise to an easy re-election victory.
Patterson said name recognition is not crucial.
Each and every one of them, they have recognition on the fact that Gavin Newsom has failed them.
Analyst Steve Swat and consultant Mike Madrid say their strategy must be more than that.
Attacking the governor is not enough. This is a blue state. It has been turning blue dramatically since 1994. And the Republican Party in California and the National Party to some extent, but certainly in California, has to recognize that this is a blue state and that they have to moderate their views if they want to have any chance of success.
Patterson said they plan on focusing on the big voting issues right now: crime, homelessness, and affordability. She says that they're also going to try a new tactic of not just talking about the issues, but showing how Democrats have failed them and then showing the solutions that Republicans are putting forward.
If you're worried or have questions tonight about student loan debt and loan forgiveness, our Verify team is here to help. Ariane Till explains the current student loan pause and the proposals to forgive student debt.
Hey, student loan borrowers, this fact check is for you. From student loan repayment pauses to cancellation of student loans, the Verify team is here to answer your questions about student loan forgiveness. Here are the sources we use to answer these questions. Okay, first up, when did the student loan repayment pause start and what does it do? The pause began in March 2020 with the passage of the CARES Act. It suspended all payments due for federal student loans, stopped the accrual of interest on those loans, and suspended involuntary collections on those loans. The pause does not, however, apply to private student loans, which constitute 8.4% of the outstanding student loan debt in the U.S. So what happens when the pause ends? Borrowers will be notified of the date their payments will resume by the Secretary of Education, and they'll be given the opportunity to enroll in income-driven repayment plans. So when will the pause end? Well, recently the Biden administration extended the pause through August 31st, 2022. But the White House could continue to extend the pause beyond that date if it chooses. This is our most popular question. Does the government have the authority to forgive student debt? The federal government can choose to forgive federal student loan debt, but not private student loan debt. That's because federal student loans are funded by the government, whereas private student loans are funded by outside entities that set their own terms and conditions. Biden pledged to forgive $10,000 in student loans for each borrower while he was on the campaign trail. And some congressional Democrats proposed forgiving $50,000 for each student. But neither of those two things have happened. So the natural question is, how much student debt has been forgiven by the Biden administration? In February, the Department of Education announced that the Biden administration had discharged $16 billion in loans for 680,000 borrowers since the start of Biden's term. But that just accounts for 1% of the total federal student debt in the U.S. The Education Data Initiative says 43.4 million Americans still owe $1.6 trillion in federal student loan debt. With your Verify, I'm Ariane Till for CBS 8.
Coming up Monday at 6, can police make you unlock your phone without a warrant? We verify.